Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise pros, Stan the Man, Paul Segreto, Badlands, baby. Franchising today, sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchise today, sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchise today, franchising today, franchising today.
Hello, everyone in the franchise world. My name is Paul Segreto, and this is Franchise Today. And I know my co-host Friedman's head had to be bopping back and forth just like mine was. And I know we've got a live show today, and we're in remote places, and we're hearing some background today. But that's just the great thing about the transparency of Franchise Today. We do report every week live, although every one of our shows, all 300 plus of them, are available on demand at blogtalkradio.com/franchise today. And, of course, for your listening pleasure, on iTunes as well under Franchise Today. Stan, how are you today?
Doing great, Paul. Boy, we had an interesting night in Atlanta last night. We had some monumental thunderstorms last night that rocked my house, but once they were gone, it was a great night's sleep. But, you know, it was one of those kinds of Texas-type storms that just came and went in a hurry. And the good news is it went in a hurry. Today I'm talking to you from within Atlanta, but sitting inside a boardroom at somebody that I'm trying to do business with. I'll leave the name anonymous, but I'm in an environment that's not my own. So the room is a little cavernous, and I hope it doesn't sound like I'm standing in some big cave someplace. I'm doing the best I can to keep it working right.
Well, it is all about content, and content is king. And, of course, what we do with that content is certainly what makes the kingdom. I've got an exciting week myself. We're rambling down the road of getting our prototype open for Over-the-Top Cake Supplies. Kevin Johnson, the CEO and founder, was our guest about a month and a half ago, and so I am literally in the back room. Fortunately, it's quiet here, and they've got a whole bunch of stuff going on, inventory being delivered, fixtures being assembled, flooring being finished, dealing with the health department, the whole 9 yards. Exciting times. And talking about, cavernous, rooms, I know you were at a very big event last week in Las Vegas, and the reason why we weren't on the air, both of us were on the road. And, of course, you were at the Franchise Times Finance Conference. Tell us a little bit about the goings on there, anything hot we need to know about, anything surprising beyond what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas?
I'll tell you what, I found something out about Las Vegas that I never knew before, and that's that there is a hotel in Las Vegas that I could actually love. And what a great venue. I got to tell you, the venue that Franchise Times selected for this conference was the best time I have ever had in Las Vegas. It was at the Encore and Steve Wynn's Encore Hotel, which is for anybody that's ever participated in Franchise Updates Conference every year in Atlanta. The Intercontinental Hotel in Atlanta is what I think of when I think of what to equate Encore to. Opulent, beautiful, much smaller than the big cavernous casinos. I mean, just a wonderful property. And while you still have to breathe the smoke of others and the casinos getting to and from, I've never experienced a Las Vegas hotel that I've enjoyed being in as much as this one, Paul.
Yeah,
That's
I enjoyed it a few years ago when I was there during the Restaurant Finance and Development Conference, and it was in between the Wynn and the Encore. Great event. I love the intimacy of it. I love the property. It's really a great venue, and obviously always kudos to Franchise Times for being in top type of venues. Anything that we need to know about as far as happenings at the event?
Well, the event itself was unique for me, Paul. It's a much different kind of conference. While I likened it to the venue being similar to Franchise Updates for the Fall Leadership Conference, this conference, like that one too, is very intimate. It's it's a few hundred people. The brands that are there either looking to find partners to capitalize franchise sales growth, so finding the right brands, or the brands looking for the right partners to fund their potential franchisees, and some of the other brands there are looking for capital to fund the growth of the franchisor's business with private equity. It was kind of neat because the whole conference is basically the C-suite. Out of all the executives that you see at many other conferences, this one is really squarely focused on capital, and that brings the C-suite. So a lot of chief financial officers, a lot of CEOs, and high-level executives in an intimate environment over a couple of days, 2.5 days, made for a wonderful conference, a wonderful opportunity to meet new friends, re-engage with old ones, meet a few past guests and a few new ones. Just a great conference. I was very, very pleased with the time I spent and the engagement that I was able to bring back to FRM and to me personally. It was a great conference.
Excellent. And speaking of past guests, I know you have some information to share about a very, very loyal friend to the show and, of course, a loyal friend to franchising, Aziz Hashim. What's going on with Aziz these days?
So while Aziz has stepped off the stage as chairman of the IFA, he stepped back onto another one last week as the immediate past chair of the IFA. Aziz keynoted and gave a talk last week promoting the excellence in franchising worldwide in the UK at the International Symposium, which had attendees from Europe and all over Eastern Europe and Western Europe both. So Aziz, we miss you as chairman. Happy with Shelley taking the gavel and bringing us to new heights, but Aziz hasn't quite left the stage, Paul. He's just moved the stage across the pond, but still out there, and just wanted to recognize and acknowledge Aziz for doing that last week.
So a leader at heart, which is a great segue into today's segment of Franchise Today, titled, "Aye, aye, Captain, hospitality it is." The quote is, "I began franchising at the end of 2009 to attract more business-minded rather than employee-minded professionals to the business. I knew that the demand for valuable talent within the hospitality industry was on the rise, and franchising was the best way to meet this demand on a national and soon-to-be international scale." And, of course, that's from our guest, Patrice Rice, founder and CEO at Patrice Associates. And also joining us today is Brian Miller, the Chief Operating Officer of Patrice Associates. Patrice, Brian, welcome to Franchise Today.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you. Excited about it.
We are very excited about it as well. And so, Patrice, why don't we start with you? Give us a little bit of background of Patrice the person, maybe shed some light on the captain reference, and bring us all the way to the point of starting Patrice and Associates.
Thanks, Paul. Well, I've always been entrepreneurial. I never really made a very great employee, so entrepreneurship is in my heart. And many years ago, I lived on the water here on this river on the Chesapeake Bay, and we had a boat. And at that time, there was something called the investment tax credit, where you could take 10% off the bottom line of the purchase price of a yacht, cruiser, boat, whatever your term is, and you could rent it out just like you were renting out a car, and you could depreciate the entire vessel and then end up owning it. So I thought that was a pretty good deal, so I wanted to do that. So I live in the Annapolis area, and I reached out to several Annapolis charter fleets and found that they are pretty much all sailboat fleets. This is the home of the Naval Academy and a lot of sailing boats in the area. But they said they would take mine. I had a 34-foot mainship trawler at the time, and they said that they would take mine, but I'd have to bring it to their pier. Well, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep it at my own pier, so if I wanted to use it, I could. So I said, okay, well, I'll just do it myself. And then I thought, well, I bet there are other people that live on the water. I mean, the Chesapeake Bay region is huge and might want to take advantage of this tax incentive and keep their boat at their pier and write it off. So I started talking to people, and then I was attracting people who didn't have a pier. So I ended up with 6 boats at my pier, and then I had to move to a marina because I was getting more and more people who wanted to do this. So I started the first powerboat charter fleet on the Chesapeake Bay, and I ended up with a fleet of about 26 boats that I managed, and I would give sea trials to these guys, and I was in my younger days. And these salty dogs would look at me and say, so little girl, why do I have to prove to you I can go dock this boat? And I would say, yeah, okay. Turn this 44-foot Trojan around and back it neck slip at the end of the pier for me. And so it came to be that I really thought, well, I needed to add some credibility to myself. So I went and took my captain's license in the class and everything. And it turned out that I was the first woman captain on the Chesapeake Bay. And so then I realized that there was no corporate entertaining on luxury yachts in the Baltimore Inner Harbor. So I bought the boat of my dreams, a 75-foot Trumpy, which was a wooden fantail, highly varnished Gatsby-style boat. And then I started attracting other large boats, and so we started corporate entertaining and weddings and all of those events on luxury yachts in Baltimore. And then I realized I was giving away too much money in catering, and I bought the Marina restaurant and started doing catering out of the Marina restaurant. And life was grand, and I would take the big boats down to Fort Lauderdale through the intercoastal waterways, for the winter and charter out of there. But then the real gas crunch hit, the end of the late 70s, early 80s, and we were sitting in line for gas. I had a powerboat fleet. The marriage went away, and it's like, okay, let's start over. What do I do now? So I went to a recruiting agency and said, what do you have for me, a boat captain? Well, they recruited me to recruit for them in Glen Burnie, Maryland. They had a Ford employment and a Nancy Adams franchise, and I ended up managing their office and recruiting in what I knew at the I started recruiting in sales and IT. After a period of time, they couldn't tell me when they were going to pay me, and my attorney said just because they broke the non-compete, I couldn't break it. So I had to wait a year to do any recruiting. Figured out how to live during that time, and which did not include getting a job, of course. Didn't want to go do that. So I wrote a book on how to interview, and I taught classes on how to interview and how to get a job in the basement of my home. And I went around to all the other agencies in Baltimore, and I said, look, your recruiters are spending way too much time writing resumes for free and teaching candidates how to interview for free in the hopes they get a job. Send them to me. And they did. I also did nails. The gel nails had first come out, acrylic nails back then. So I went to people's houses and did that. Did everything I could for that year to survive. And then when my year was up, I started my own agency in the basement of my house, had 4 people come to work, and what I knew, IT and professional sales. Back then there was no internet. We had fax machines. And the big innovation, broadcasting. Now you know how old I am, Paul, but don't tell anybody, okay?
I think there's a lot of age on this call anyway.
So
wisdom, Paul, not age, wisdom.
That's
I
right,
like
wisdom.
that.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, with women, it's like fine wine,
Mm-hmm.
But it's so I finally had another agency contact me about working with one of my candidates, and I said, what do you do? And they said, we work with Bob Evans. They paid us $2,000 per hire, and they made 40 hires from us last year. And I had no idea this industry used in agencies, and that's the day that changed my life. Because I hung up from them, and I picked up the phone, and I called Bob Evans, and they paid me $3,000, and they'd made well over 1,000 hires for me, and I just focused on this market because this niche is a recruiter's dream, Just most of my franchisees don't know it because they've never recruited before. Any other agency, you've got to make calls to clients to have jobs to work. We really don't have to look for jobs. We have 500 all the time. We just have to look for candidates to fill those jobs. So I started as a recruiting agency. I know a lot of franchisors get an idea and start franchising it out. I actually did it for 20 years, had a recruiting company. And
this is a great topic today that it just really hit me between the ears that, for all the years that I've been a franchise recruiter in terms of being a franchise sales guy, we're talking about the franchising of the recruitment business. Wow, what a great place to just think about and contemplate for 1 minute. I'm going to ask a question of Brian in a moment, but the answer is almost apparent to me already as to how Brian and you, how perfect a match you are to have a guy that we've known for so many years as involved with the Source or with the Franchise Source brands, recruiting, again, recruiters and things relevant to franchise development. Brian, I'm going to ask Patrice to just give you a moment to pitch in on top of her wonderful story with what brought the two of you together and how you've been, because I don't know that a lot of people, Brian, know that you've had human resource and staffing sales in your background before Source, but I know that you were an old Snelling guy too once upon a time, weren't you?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was kind of a match made in heaven, actually. Many of you know that I've been in franchising for a long time. I've been in franchising for 27 years, but I actually started in franchising with Snelling Personnel Services, Snelling Staffing, a recruiting firm, and I worked for them for 16 years. I was a franchisee at one point with them. My wife and I both were franchisees, and I worked on their franchising side and their company store division and their national account division for many years. I actually wound up leaving there. I was recruited to a multi-brand franchisor that you referred to in the business coaching space and the franchise coaching space. And in addition to the staffing experience, began to develop experience in franchise sales and franchise development there, and then began coaching other franchisors on franchise sales and development and improving unit economics. Actually wound up becoming Patrice's business coach at one point. And about 3 years ago, I left that organization to start my own consulting firm, and Patrice, using her best recruiting skills, and she's a master at that, picked up the phone and called me and said, well, looks like you're a good match. You know our business. You know what's going well in our business and the areas that we want to focus on improving. You have the background in staffing. You have the background in franchise sales. So she is the one that recruited me about almost 3 years ago now, and we have made a great team together. We have quadrupled the brand from the unit size. We're now over 100 units. We were just a little over 20 some 3 years ago. And we've also quadrupled our franchisees' revenue with the expansion of additional accounts and the faster ramp-up in cash flow of our franchisees, which we'll probably talk a little bit about today.
Yeah, and we'll get to, after we get through our midway break, we're going to dive more deeply into the franchise side of the business and who it is that makes the kind of franchisee you're looking for and who should be looking for your kind of a franchise business. But let's first help our audience understand the market segment that you guys are in. And let's talk a little bit about what, as a brand, is your sweet spot and your focus, and then what it is about the consumer's perspective of their relationship with you that makes your company just stand head and shoulders above others in this space.
Well, we focus
yeah.
on the hospitality. You know, that's our niche, but that niche has many vertical markets that go along with it. You know, the traditional hotel, restaurant, casino, food contracting companies that bid on the concourses of airports, the catering houses, the wedding venues, you know, that's what people think of when they think of traditional hospitality. But anything to do with food is what we do. What we do at the management level only. We're not staffing. We're what you call direct hire for the management personnel. We work with gourmet grocery store chains. We work with food production companies. We work with companies that hire sales reps that service this industry and others. The food sales rep, the liquor sales guy, the uniform sales guy. And as all of our clients also have corporate headquarters, we work many of the traditional positions like, accounts receivable. We've done COO positions. We pretty much do anything in any vertical markets that are attached to food. But this is not only our niche, this is our specialty, and this is the space that we dominate because I've been in business for 27 years, and we have the reputation, in this particular industry. Brian, you want to expand upon this for a minute?
Sure. Yeah, we're in two industries. We're in the recruiting industry, like she said, and we're in the hospitality industry. And most of you probably know the hospitality industry has been exploding over the last decade and is projected to be one of the top 5 service sector industries through this next decade, mostly due to the growth in the food service sector and the food and beverage workers. To give you an example, there's 14 million people that work in the restaurant industry every day that are getting hired, fired, laid off, changing jobs, which is an industry that has a high turnover ratio, not so good for the companies, good for us as a supplier to that industry. And it's a tight labor market. Every single month when the labor numbers come out, whether it's a good month for job creation or a bad month, there's usually one of about 4 industries that are always hiring, and that is typically the hospitality industry. So what creates the demand for what our franchisees and recruiters do is these companies are opening restaurant locations, unit locations faster than they can keep up with from a talent or a labor perspective. They simply cannot find enough qualified, keyword being qualified, people on their own. So they hire a Patrice Associates to go out and find the people that are not responding to their ads. So basically what we do and what makes us unique on the consumer side with the companies is that we actually go out and recruit people. We find people that are not looking for jobs on the Internet or not only looking for jobs in the Internet and responding to the ads. So the reason the company would hire us is because we're going to be recruiting from a different pool of people than they are. And they're desperate for people. Every restaurant has between 5 and 7 managers, and they simply cannot function without that management level. So that is why they hire us. We are considered to be the gold standard in restaurant recruiting because of the work that Patrice did as a pioneer in this industry. And we have a great brand reputation. The brand reputation with our client companies is that we're a quality staffing company. We don't pull down resumes off the Internet and slap our logo on them. We actually go out and find people and reference check them so they know when they work with a Patrice and Associate office that they're going to get the highest quality candidates and the best possible service. We also have a great reputation with the candidates because we have core values that are respect, excellent service, and teamwork, and they manifest themselves in how we work with our candidates that come to us looking for opportunities. So for that reason, those are some of the things that wind up setting us apart. We also happen to be the largest hospitality recruiting firm in the U.S.
So, Brian, a lot has changed in various industries and across business over the years that Patrice and Associates has been around, and specifically with respect to, recruiting. We have, the Internet, we have LinkedIn, we have a changing target audience in millennials being obviously a big part of restaurant and hospitality. How has all of that been to your advantage, meaning to Patrice and Associates' advantage, and how have you addressed over the years the technology with respect into this industry segment?
Well, it's a good question, and it's a question that we get from time to time, and this has been circling around in the recruiting business for years that, I'm old enough to remember when Monster first came out and they said that was going to be the death of the recruiting companies, and then it was something else, and the reality is the exact opposite happened. While there's certainly a lot of venues that companies can utilize to recruit on their own, the problem is the same. The people that are responding to those ads and are out there surfing the Internet and looking for opportunities are the ones that are unemployed, or what I like to refer to as being mentally unemployed. The people that they really want, the A talent, the A-level players, are the ones that are working and they're too busy to be surfing the Internet looking for a job. So it's actually helped us because the barrage of information, resumes, most of which are unqualified that our clients get through many of those sources, they then depend upon us even more to go out and, as I said, be proactive in looking for that top talent. Now, in all honesty, we do also use some of those services, and we do what our clients don't want to do and source through all of the unqualified resumes and responses that we get to find those few nuggets that are in there and interview them and reference check them and vet them. And we save our clients time and money by doing that. We have a number of franchisees that are also very active in social media, and some of the things that they have done on social media has helped them put them in touch with other people who know other people that have helped them recruit, especially in the high-level kinds of positions, the executive team, executive chefs, those kinds of things. So in some ways, it's actually helped us. While we do certainly use some of that ourselves, it's really helped highlight what the difference a professional recruiter can make. Does that make sense, Patrice? Anything you want to add to that?
It makes sense. And the other interesting part is how technology has affected my business specifically. Technology has allowed us to be so flexible. A lot of people I talk to, it seems the priorities in life are changing a little bit. It's not all about the most money I can make. It's about being comfortable and having quality of time with my family. Work-life balance seems to be really a big consideration to a lot of people these days. And because of technology, we can offer that in a degree many other franchise opportunities cannot, because our database, our business is 100% virtual. You can access our information on through the internet. We don't ever in-person interview candidates. It's all done on the phone because we work at the management level. So in our model, you don't have to be sitting at your desk to work this business. You don't have to be sitting in your territory to work this business. You can have a summer and a winter home. We actually have a franchisee with an RV traveling the country and recruiting, and nobody knows. A lot of franchisees are parents. They tell me their kids don't care if they're watching the game or not. They care that they're sitting in the field. So they're sitting in the field watching the few times their child gets up and plays, but they're sitting there working on their phones. So the flexibility that technology has offered has been incredible.
That's great. Wherever you go, there you are, right? It brings a whole new meaning. A whole new meaning. Hey, you're listening to Franchise Today. I'm Stan Friedman, along with Paul Segreto, and we're talking with Patrice Rice, CEO and founder of Patrice Associates, and her Chief Operating Officer, our good longtime friend, Brian Miller. When we come back from our mid-break, we're going to be talking to America's premier hospitality recruiters about the franchise side of their business and how and who it is that they recruit to bring these services to the marketplace. Franchise Today is brought to you by the Franchise Foundry, where they've been bringing emerging brands to market for more than 30 years. The Foundry fosters healthy, sustainable growth for their clients, the kind that comes from experience. The Franchise Foundry provides both coaching and consulting, a hybrid approach, delivering more effective solutions for both the franchisor's corporate team as well as for their franchisees. The Foundry team is rich in practical, hands-on experience and expertise with general business management, operational and change management, digital marketing, and, of course, franchise recruitment and development. And the Franchise Foundry can also assist you with creating roadmaps for potential mergers and acquisitions and provide you with the guidance needed to navigate them. You can learn more about Paul Segreto and the Franchise Foundry, along with their expanding list of clients, at www.franchisefoundry.com. Franchise Today also brought to you by FRM Solutions, offering best-in-class CRM and document management software designed specifically for franchising. FRM empowers real-time business intelligence, communication, and collaboration between all members of the franchisor's team and prospective as well as existing franchisees. This enables you to simply and seamlessly track, access, and manage all messages to and from prospective and existing franchise candidates, including text as well as email. Legal and compliance is simplified as well with FRM's document management, and even site visits can be digitally facilitated and scored with FRM. Make today the day you give FRM a look and assure that all of your candidate and franchisee correspondence, including texts, are being permanently tracked and stored in candidate records. FRM Solutions, no long-term contracts, multiple upgrades each year at no additional cost, no excuses, just solutions on the web at frmsolutions.com. So let's dive into the topic of franchising as pertains to this recruitment business that's focused so on hospitality. And let's talk about who it is that you look to as the primary perfect type of candidate. If you were rubbing the genie out of the lamp and saying, this is the perfect person to be in this business as a franchisee, Patrice, who would that be?
We look for people that have sales ability or sales experience. Now, we're 100% virtual business. In any franchise, you have to perform an activity in order to be successful and make money. And our activity is talking to people on the phone. So you can't be afraid of picking up the phone and talking to people. You can't be afraid of picking up the phone proactively and talking to someone who might be interested in a job or someone who sends you their resume and wants you to call them. So you have to be able to be self-disciplined and self-disciplined and motivated to be successful in any business. But in our business, you can have zero phone reluctance. Now, the thing with our business is that it's scalable in that if that person is not you and you'd rather focus on building a team, that's okay because you can hire people to be on the phone. But somebody has to be on the phone making the calls. Brian, you want to elaborate on that for a minute?
Sure. I mean, like Patrice said, I mean, we're looking for people that many franchisors are looking for. We're looking for people that are marketers and motivators. A lot of times people think we look for people with hospitality experience. We don't, actually. We do have some franchisees that do have hospitality experience, but the key to that is they also have the experience of sales or having sales ability. Because, again, what our clients are hiring us to do is go out and find the people that are not responding to the ads. So that means you have to get on the phone and you have to make what we call recruiting calls. Now, those are not sales calls because you're not calling to offer anybody. You're not calling to collect a check from someone or sign them up as a client necessarily. You're really calling to offer them an opportunity. So we do really look for people that do have that sales ability. Now, one of the unique things about Patrice Associates, which is really one of the main reasons why people are attracted to us, big feather in our cap, is that we do something that most franchisors don't do and is literally unheard of, and that is that we actually develop clients for those franchisees. We have negotiated contracts with companies like Cheesecake Factory, Applebee's, Panera, Arby, many brands that you would recognize and some that you wouldn't. They're up-and-coming brands, and they outsource the recruitment to us. So a brand-new franchisee signing on has built-in clients, which is these are not just leads. These are actual clients that they have built in so that they can begin to work and cash flow their business immediately. So if they have that sales ability and they're not afraid to talk to people they don't know, we already have built-in clients for them. Now, we do encourage them to go out and develop their own accounts. We train them on how to do it. And quite honestly, it's not really all that terribly difficult to develop clients in this business if you follow the system and the process. But the good news for us is that, as a new franchisee, while they're learning how to do that, they have these built-in clients. So, we do look for people with sales ability, but it's also should be underscored and noted that we're also providing customers to them from day one.
That's excellent. Brian, I don't know of anybody that understands regional development quite like you do. Your vision into it, the understanding of it, and how to scale it, to me, in my mind, is second to none. And so how has regional development been added to the mix since you've come on board with Patrice Associates 3 years ago?
Well, the reason that Patrice and I decided jointly to offer a regional developer program, other than it was just a great opportunity, is that we wanted to provide more training and support to our single unit franchisees. We have kind of amped up, or what I call put our training and our onboarding process on steroids in the last few years, and we provide an incredible amount of support, a 90-day mentorship program, a weekly coaching program, and the regional developers have played a very integral part in that. In our model, the regional developers are also required to operate a unit, not just be franchise salespeople, but they're also required to operate a unit so they can be better mentors, trainers, and coaches. we've grown rapidly. We've, sold over, probably close to 15 regions in the last 2 years. So like every company, we have our growing pains. But what we're seeing with our regional developers is them being able to hands-on develop and model how to be successful in this business. And of course, the secondary objective is to expand our footprint and increase more franchise units, which is an aggressive goal that we have. But the primary reason that we launched this RD program was to provide more infrastructure and more support for our single unit franchisees.
Excellent. What are the so those regional developers are they actually helping to recruit single unit developers under them and then participate in the revenue stream?
Yes, that's exactly how it works. They recruit, they assist in the franchise sales process. They can either develop leads on their own, or they can work with us with the network that we have. We have a very robust franchise development marketing budget, and we're generating leads all the time. But as a single unit gets signed in their area, they receive a portion of that franchise fee and the training fee, and then they also split the royalties with us. So there's an incentive for them to be hands-on and working with those franchisees and helping them be successful, because that becomes part of their revenue stream. The regional developer has really 3 revenue streams: their own individual office, which throws off cash flow, the revenue that comes from the franchise sales aspect, and then the royalty split. Patrice, anything you want to add to that?
No. I think that pretty much sums it up, Brian.
So why don't we move down to the unit level? And Patrice, you made an excellent point earlier, an attractive point about being virtual. So this guy that might be a franchisee and he's on his RV traveling the country, does he have any territorial constraints or restrictions? How does your territory work?
We do have defined territories based on population of at least 250,000 people, because there's enough infrastructure. Hotels, restaurants, casinos, grocery stores to support those numbers of people, because we want them to develop that territory. We want them to be the go-to person if somebody either wants to hire a manager or a job. We join the State Restaurant Association, but we want them to go out and ask for the manager. One comes to the table and you're not going to complain, and tell them that you're the local franchisee, and if they need any managers or know anybody looking for a job, give them your card. And now that receipt is a tax write-off. Kind of cool. None of my franchisees ever pay for a meal. That's not a tax write-off. So we want to do that in their local territory, but they have no boundaries. They can work the entire country. And we can do that by way of our shared database. That's how we can do that without stepping on each other. So the territories are small enough that they really can develop them and be that person in that area, but they're not big enough to earn all their income from. And I've had people say to me, so then why have territories, if they can work the whole country? Well, their territory is protected for client development. But the real thing, we didn't want to oversaturate any one area. We didn't want to put 50 franchisees in Los Angeles, for example. So it's kind of a protection of the franchisee. But again, that even gives more flexibility to this model. Time zone differences. If you're on the East Coast and you like to work nights because you want to do something in the afternoon, go do it, because you could work California. And the industry itself offers even additional flexibility, because this industry is a 7-day-a-week, late night, and often 24-hour business. You can work whenever you want. So the territory and the fast cash flow and the fact that the industry is recession-proof really is some of the main attractions to our model.
Brian, anything else to add to that?
Well, I think the territory is one of the most unique aspects about our model, and the people that get it, when they get it, it's like a light bulb goes off to them. Most of our franchisees look at that situation as a glass half full, because while you do have your own territory, like Patrice said, to go out there and meet the decision makers and get woven into the fabric of the community, you're allowed to develop clients anywhere in the country as long as it comes to your circle of influence or referral or the normal course of doing your job. that is really how the recruiting industry, not on the hourly side or the temp side, but that's really how the recruiting industry on the executive management side works. And because we're providing clients to them all over the country, they're actually working jobs anywhere in the United States. So if you're in New England and you had a snowstorm of 3 feet and people can't get out on interview, it doesn't really matter because you might be working the Dallas, Texas market that week because one of our clients has an opening for 5 general managers in that area. So the accounts that we develop for them are national in scope, and they can work anywhere in the country. And again, as I said, they can develop their clients as long as there's some warm lead or circle of influence or referral. And, of course, we have rules of engagement, and the way that we keep all of this simple and it works in a system like ours is through that technology that Patrice talked about earlier, our CRM system, really make sure that we're not stepping on each other. But the territory is one of the most unique aspects about this business model. And like I said, the people that get it, that's one of the things that attracts them to them about this business because they can develop clients anywhere in the country. They can even sign major accounts. It's also one of the reasons why our clients use us because, you know, they know that when they sign an account, they have an army of recruiters of over 150 recruiters across the country that are working to help them fill their jobs if they have a national footprint.
The other thing I'd like to add here
Brian,
is that
go ahead.
I'm sorry, is that in other models,
Go
the franchisor teaches a franchisee what to do, how to do it, and gives them an empty territory and says, now good luck, go do it. We have clients. They're in business the day they come to train, so cash flow is faster. In other models, it's location, location, location. The territory that you buy is hugely important because it's what you've got, it's all you've got. With us, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're sitting in the cornfields because you can work Miami and Houston and Dallas. So the main things that are barriers to entry with other models, we kind of have safety nets for.
Excellent. Brian, tell us a little bit about international development, which is usually a nice extension off of regional development.
Well, Patrice and I have been approached by a number of individuals and companies about taking the brand internationally, and we've been very selective in our approach, and we have a strategic plan, and part of our strategic plan was to make sure that we had everything, you know, working and smoothly here in the U.S. before we decided that we were going to go international. And we wanted to make smart decisions about going international, not just if there was somebody that wanted to hand us a check in some foreign country that we were going to accept it. We wanted to do it a little bit more strategically. So we felt that the most logical expansion would be fully in North America, Canada. A lot of the same labor statistics and a lot of the same economic analysis that applies in the U.S., many of those same things apply, as you know, to our friends north as well. And the hospitality industry is no difference. The industry is growing exponentially. Restaurants Canada published something this week about 25 years of growth, and they also have the same challenges with the tight labor market. So we felt that Canada would be the next logical foray into international. And our disclosure document and our program was approved about 3 or 4 months ago in Canada. We engaged a PR firm to put a marketing blast on and then began to deploy our franchise development approach there. And we just awarded our first regional developer for Eastern Canada that will be opening in the Niagara Falls area in Canada in April. And I'll be at the CFA, the Canadian Franchise Show, next week. We are looking for a West Coast Canadian regional developer to help us grow our brand there as well. Then Patrice and I have a list once we establish our roots and our footprint there and our client base in Canada. Then we're looking to develop in other markets as well. But we want to go international. Obviously, hospitality is an international industry, and I know Patrice can probably tell you we place people all over the world. But we just want to make sure that we're doing it smart.
So, tell us, if you would, Patrice, and Brian, you as well, who is it, or not who, but what is it that a franchisee in your business, in the course of a day, if we were looking over their shoulder, what is the primary function that the franchisee is performing? Give us like a slice of life of a day in the life of one of your franchisees. So many times we mistake what the role of the franchisee may be by perception and reality can be very, very far apart. Give us a look at what it looks like to be a Patrice and Associate franchisee.
Brian, why don't you take this one?
Okay. Well, as we said, the main reason that our clients hire us is to find the people that are not responding to their ads. So to a large degree, that depends upon the type of setup the individual franchisee has chosen to operate. Our regional developers all have bricks and mortar offices, and they have recruiters that work for them. And we have franchisees that have hired recruiters, including virtual recruiters. But a good portion of the day is going to be spent on the phone, about 4 to 4.5 hours of connected phone time a day. And that is going to be sourcing people that are right for the open job orders of the clients that we have. They're going to be talking to people, and really it is almost a coaching role, because once you get somebody in your pipeline, you're trying to find out what their dream job is, what they want that they don't have right now, and you're really coaching them and really helping to market them to companies, helping them to prepare a resume, helping to coach them on how to interview with a company, helping them to put their best foot forward to get an opportunity. So it's not all sales-related work that they're doing. A lot of it is really coaching someone on how to market themselves to a company and helping them get their best foot forward. A lot of what we do is spend a lot of time with the people that we're sending to make sure they're quality candidates and help them, as I said, make sure that they're putting their best foot forward and doing a good match. But another portion of the day is spent on client development, like we talked about, where they're actually out in their community at least one day a week, meeting the decision makers, the restaurant managers, the business executives in town, and developing clients at both face-to-face as well as developing clients over the phone. Many of our franchisees develop their clients through reference checking, because we do what we say we do. We actually get on the phone and check references before we send someone to a company, and that often winds up turning into a discussion about how they're handling their staffing needs. So really a day in the life of is going to be a mixture of talking to people who are candidates, looking to source the best quality people to send to our client companies, and a portion of the day spent developing additional clients on their own. At the end of the day, what we do is we help people and we change people's lives, because, when you take somebody that's working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week in a dead-end job with no upward mobility, and you give them an opportunity to go to a better concept, better career mobility, better career path advancement, and better benefits, it changes people's lives. So usually one of the things with our franchisees that strikes a chord is they want to be able to change somebody's life or help people or give back to the community. And that's an important part of what we do, and you see that in the testimonial letters we get every day.
I could add here for a second. There's a lot of ways to make money in this world. You can sell blinds to people that want to redecorate their house, or you can have a maid cleaning service. But if changing somebody's life is at the end of the day, you feel good because you impacted a family's life by getting them a better job, a better quality of life. They can have dinner with their family, because this industry is brutal, on the hours and the holidays and all the times you work. If you can change somebody's life and if that makes you feel good, then we're probably a good match.
Brian, you made me have another memory just triggered here when you talked about how, it's about changing lives. I can remember only one time in my life where I was heavily recruited, and I don't know if I was an anomaly or not, but I'll ask you that. It took a year from the time that the process was begun. It took a year to get me to where that recruiter finally placed me. Is that unusual, or am I just stubborn? Or tell me what's the timeline look like when you're looking for people who aren't looking for you? How long does it usually take for them to have that blinding flash of the obvious that took a year for me to see?
Yeah, well, I think it really depends upon the level of position that you're recruiting for. In the bread and butter kind of position that we fill, it takes weeks, because when a restaurant has an opening, they can't afford to wait that long to fill the job. And I think on average, recruiters would tell you it takes anywhere from 60 to 90 days to when they're working with clients. But in our industry and the type of placement that we do every day, it's usually a matter of weeks from the time that you get a requisition until you send somebody out. Again, remember, we have a database that has about 200,000 candidates in it, and we're always recruiting. So we usually can fill jobs pretty quickly. and usually our clients want them filled very quickly. Now, as you go up higher up the food chain and you get into different levels of position, then the length of time that it takes to find people to a large degree depends upon, the interview cycle of that company. So the higher you go up in the food chain, the more time it takes. But the average bread and butter position usually, if you find the right candidate, and this is really what this business is about, is putting a good candidate in front of a good company, that usually happens in weeks. Patrice, you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I've had people be amazed at the amount of time that it takes, because if a restaurant is short a manager, somebody's working doubles. And if that goes on for too long, they're going to have people leaving them and going to another restaurant. So there's a real sense of urgency for, the operational level management team to keep them staffed, because if they're working doubles, they're going to start looking for a job too. So it's a much faster process to get someone hired in this industry.
This is all great stuff. Brian, Patrice, I want to thank you. But before we get off the air, leave the air, I want our listening audience to know how to learn more about Patrice and Associates, the opportunities ahead, both from a employee standpoint, as well as, looking for a job, as well as potential recruitment for, an individual franchisor for regional development, and also let us know where they might be able to find you at any upcoming events that might be of interest as well.
Well, if you're interested in a franchise opportunity at any level, our franchise website is www.patriceandassociatesfranchising.com. patriceandassociatesfranchising.com. And there it talks about the model and testimonials from current franchisees, and Brian and myself have videos explaining the model. If someone's looking for a job, they can go to our consumer site, which is patriceandassociates.com. And on the upper right-hand corner, it says search our database of jobs. And that's linked in real time to our CRM. So every time we open and close a job, it opens and closes in real time on our website. And people can search for job openings in their area and apply for that job right through our website. Brian, you want to tell people where you're going to be coming up?
Well, next week I will be at the CFA, which is in Niagara Falls in Canada. So if any of you are going to be north in Canada, I will be there, and I will actually be meeting with some folks that are interested in our franchise brands while I'm there. And then I will be at our headquarters in Maryland. We have a new training class of franchisees starting the first 2 weeks in April, and that's the immediate schedule. I think Patrice is going to be on the West Coast here in a week or so, working with one of our regional developer offices in Southern California. But that is pretty much the next month for us.
Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles next week. I travel about a week a month and go to different regions in the country and do regional training. I'd be happy to meet with anybody, and they can get my schedule if they would like to, spend some time with me one-on-one. That would be great.
Well, thank you. Aye, Captain. We look forward to seeing you at upcoming networking events as well. And I really appreciate both of you coordinating time for you both to be on the show today. I think it was some very, very valuable insight, and I know our listening audience loves the perspective of two different people operating within one organization. I think there's a perfect yin and yang type of paradigm that both of you bring to the table. A lot of commonality, but obviously a lot of core proficiencies yourself. Obviously a great team, and much, much, much of my best wishes for your continued success, and especially in this new growth mode. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thanks both, Patrice and Brian. Appreciate it so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Stan, another interesting topic, great guests. Tell us something that transpired, Stan, in Las Vegas about a guest that we're looking forward to having on in April.
Well, I will tell you that we've got it locked down. Actually, Paul, you and I, we muse about this almost weekly. One of the last things that I do before we go live on the air is take my last bite of a Jimmy John's number 2, which is my number 2 is my signature sandwich, roast beef. It's my favorite. Well, we're going to bring the king of Jimmy John's to Franchise Today on the 19th of April when Jimmy John Liatu, the founder and the chairman of the board of Jimmy John's, will be joining us on Franchise Today. And also upcoming in weeks ahead, Steve Clemente, the president of the Primrose Schools, will be joining us. And I know we've got an active roster of guests being worked through our many friends at Fishman, All Points, and other of the PR firms that are so good about bringing us great quality speakers to talk about sustainable growth and sensible franchising and sharing all of their nuggets with our audience here on Franchise Today.
Yep, great stuff. I'm really looking forward to Jimmy John. That was great. You were sending pictures to me, and I was just cracking up. I mean, this was just great. At first, I thought you were joking. At first, I got the verbiage that said, "Guess who's going to be on Franchise Today?" and I couldn't see the picture, and so it was an interesting time keeping in touch while you were at the Franchise Time show. And of course, we got some more events coming up. Multi-unit franchising conference coming up. We've got the legal symposium coming up in May. And before you know it, Stan, IFE is going to be upon us. And so I think the next 3 months we're going to be quite busy.
All good, Paul. It's a great time. 2017, I think, is going to be just a banner year. We came out of the gates fast, and we are speeding up. And so I think it's just good times and great spirit, and everybody's seemingly focused on making this one of the best in most recent years. And hopefully what we bring to the audience by way of our guests and speakers will contribute to those successes and be shared with all of our audiences as well.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is we are only 1 week away from the end of the first quarter. So if you're not 25% yet towards your goals or higher, you got some work to do, and hopefully Stan and I and Franchise Today can help you with that. Until next week, my name is Paul Segreto, wishing you the best, the very best, in this great, great thing called franchising. And Franchise Today is out.
Franchise pros, Stan the Man, Paul Segreto, Badlands, baby. Franchising today, sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchising today, sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchising today, franchising today, franchising today.
When it's PCS time, you know the drill. Pack, research the new base, get the kids in school, because family supports family. At American Public University, we support military families with flexible, affordable online education that moves with you. As a military spouse, your tuition rate is the same as your partner's, just $250 per credit hour. American Public University, education that moves with you. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.